Hi everyone, today is Monday and I'm here to help you with your writing this week. Before we get started, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about writing because I think this is important. I want you to think of yourself as a writer this week. I know that we always talk about that, but I really want you to focus on your storytelling and your ideas, okay? So, as you're going along through the week, if an idea pops into your head, maybe think about writing it down somewhere, keeping that idea to help you in the future when you want to write more stories, okay? It happens to me a lot, so I wanted to share that quick tip, okay? Think of yourself as a writer. Say, I am a writer and I love writing, okay? It'll really help. The next thing I wanted to show you today is this picture, okay? This whole week, we're going to go back and revise our series books. We have 2 books that we've completed. So yay to that, okay? So here's the poster that I wanted to share with you. It's called Read to Revise. And what that stands for is rearrange, exchange, add, or delete. Delete means take away. Those are the 4 things that we're going to focus on doing with your series books this week. Okay? You might rearrange some of the words in your sentences. You might exchange a word, trade out a boring word for a fancy word. You might add more words, and that's what we're going to do today. Or you might think that that part of the story doesn't make sense and you just draw a line right through it, cross it out. That's what delete means. Okay? So I just wanted to show you that that's what our focus is for this week. You don't really have to write any new stories, but if a good idea pops into your mind, be sure to jot it down in a notebook or on a post-it or somewhere to keep track of new ideas. Okay? So here we go. All right, today's lesson is called Writers Develop Dialogue. And I want to share a quick story with you, something that happened to me this morning. I don't know about you guys, but my kids are starting to argue a lot. They've been together now for, I guess, 8 weeks, right? So I have a son and a daughter, Madison and Gavin. And they're always playing with their toys together. But this morning I heard them yelling. So here's what happened. I heard Gavin say, Madison, stop touching that. That's my toy, he yelled. So do you see what I did there? I noticed that those words really stood out to me because it was a dialogue tag, right? He really yelled that at his sister. So I want you to stop and think here for a minute. Are there any words that maybe pop into your mind when you think about your family? Do you ever hear them talking about things that you could use in a story? Maybe, right? So here's what I want to teach you. When characters speak, just like the characters in your book, we add different tags besides the word said. So instead of saying Gretchen said in my book about Gretchen, I might say Gretchen yelled, or Gretchen cried, or Gretchen shouted, or Gretchen whispered, right? It will make your story more exciting and interesting to use dialogue. And dialogue is just a fancy word for talking, right? Okay, so let's get started. Now, I can't take credit for this. This is a story written by another teacher that I just thought was so fantastic at teaching you about dialogue that I wanted to share it with you. Okay, so here's what she wrote. And before I read it to you, I want to show you that what she focused on was speech bubbles. And here's what it says. Speech bubbles match words on paper. Okay, so that's really a goal for you today. You're going to look at your stories, just like I'm about to show you this teacher's story, and you're going to see if you can make some speech bubbles that match the words on your paper. All right, so let's check it out. Here's what she did. It says, one morning, Charlie was skateboarding with his friend Jacob. Look how fast I'm going, said Charlie. I can catch you, Jacob replied. So this is a little conversation between 2 boys, right? Charlie and Jacob. Now look up at her picture. She did such an awesome job of this. She wrote, I can catch you. And then the other boy says, look how fast I'm going. So he actually says this first, right? He's the leader one. Do you know which one this is? This is Charlie, right? Charlie was skateboarding. And then this is what Jacob replied, I can catch you. So this is an example of something that you're going to go back and add to your book today, either your book 1 or your book 2 that you already wrote last week. All right, let's look at the next page. Here she says, they were chasing each other and showing off. Look at me, Charlie yelled while drinking his water. He didn't see the big rock on the sidewalk. Watch out, screamed Jacob. Oh no. So look, here he is showing off. Haha, look at me. And then here is the friend replying, watch out. And do you notice what the writer did here? She used a dialogue tag. She used the word screamed. All right, doesn't that really bring more excitement to her story? Yeah. Okay, now the next page says, Charlie tumbled over the rock. The water bottle went flying. Charlie fell. His knee was gushing with blood. Okay, so again, carrying on the important details of the story. And notice here how this page doesn't have any speech bubbles, and that's okay. Not every page has to have them. And this page doesn't have any dialogue in the story either. That's okay. All right, so here's the next part. It says, Jacob ran all the way back to Charlie's house. He looked for Charlie's dad. Now let's stop and think here for a minute. This is a good sentence, 2 sentences, but we want to add some important dialogue, and we're going to add the word shouted. That's our dialogue tag to help us show more action and more excitement. So this is what I've been leading up to. I want to help you learn how to revise, and today we're going to be adding more. All right, so do you see how there's 2 sentences there? All right, now check out this same picture, right? Same story. We just added more. The teacher added more. Help, help. So she put a speech bubble there. Now it says, Jacob ran all the way back to Charlie's house. He looked for Charlie's dad. Help, help, Jacob shouted. Do you see how the teacher put the dialogue tag shouted right there? Yeah. And then she went on to say, Charlie is bleeding. And then do you see those quotation marks? You might remember doing this in our classrooms back at Clara Barton. We did a lot of dialogue in our small moments stories that we used to write. Okay, so we're adding talking to our stories today. Help, help. It really makes the action come alive, right? Can you imagine what's going to happen next in this story? Here's the last page. Let's check it out. It says, Jacob and Charlie's dad ran down the street with towels and band-aids. It's okay, Charlie, his dad whispered. Notice that dialogue tag, whisper, as he bent down to help him. Dad helped Charlie get his skateboard. Then they walked home a few minutes later. I'll never do that again, Charlie said. So that's an ending called a lesson learned ending, right? They learned something that they are not going to do again. And notice the speech bubble where Dad's saying, it's okay. And then there's some lines here to show where the blood was coming out, right? So lots of good details in this story. So here's what we want to come away with as our teaching points today. Remember to add words in your writing that match those speech bubbles. So if the character Dad over here is saying, it's okay, then you want to make sure that that goes along with what's happening in the story. It's okay, Charlie, his dad whispered. Another thing I want to make sure you come away with is that one character says something and then another character speaks. They're having a little conversation, just like you would with your friends or your parents or whoever you're talking to in life. So you're going to have 2 characters talking back and forth. It's okay, Charlie, his dad whispered. And then down here it says, I'll never do that again, Charlie said. Right? So Dad's talking and Charlie's talking. Both characters are coming to life. And then the final point down here at the bottom is that you can add body movements when they are speaking. So I'm going to show you that this is a body movement, right? The lines are showing that something happened over here to his knee, right? Okay. Now, just really quickly, I want to show you what I did today, because in a minute I'm going to send you off as writers to go and add some dialogue to your stories. So here's my story about Gretchen. First, I added a speech bubble for Gretchen's mom. It says, "Come on, let's go," because they were walking to Sky's house. And then here, I made sure that that dialogue was included in my writing. I added another sentence, and this doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be neat. You can take your pencil and draw an arrow right onto your paper, and then really tiny, you can write that sentence. "Come on, let's go," shouted Gretchen's mom. So I used the dialogue tag shouted. Okay. And then I highlighted down here because I want you to notice that I used this already in my writing. It says, "Ouch," she screamed. Okay. And then on my last page here, I just went ahead and added 2 speech bubbles for when Gretchen got to Sky's house. "Hi, Sky, I'm hurt. Here you go." So Sky handed her the Band-Aid. Okay, so that's your job today. You're going to be going back, rereading your story, because revising is all about reading, right? READ. Reread it, check it out, and see where you can put in some speech bubbles or some sentences that include talking. Okay, I'm really excited for this. I think that it's going to make your writing a lot more interesting and exciting, and it's just fun to go back and do this kind of stuff. You can do it to both books if you want. Okay, and as always, you are the boss of your own writing. So if you finish this and you decide, "Oh, I had something else in my mind that I wanted to use as an idea for my stories," go ahead and start your 3rd book if you really want to do that. That's totally fine. All right. I want you to continue being the great writers that you were when you were in Clara Barton School. Okay. I miss you guys. Have a great week.